Hey, what's up? So, I just wanted to give a short briefing about myself. Okay. Now, I wanted to clarify things to get away from everything that was distortive about the field, right? I'm just really inside, and I'm like too inside, I guess. Oh, I guess a lot of things interfered over the years. I mean, really, I haven't really known anybody for like the past 5 years, truly, for any nuclear distance. And a nuclear distance would be like how long it takes for the planet to cycle around the sun. Now, there are many nuclear phases that goes on, obviously. I mean, if anybody knows, they know. I mean, we like the nuclear phases are sometimes like it shakes the ground. Some are more storm-like. Sorry, I was smoking my vape, but I wasn't really trying to burp, I guess. Now, I'm trying not to take too much time because I had to record this video like 5 times. I had to talk for like 20 minutes or like 10 minutes, like every single time. It got really annoying. So I'm sorry if I'm not making any sense, but I will try to do this as quickly as possible to clear away from any drama or any problems that were associated inside the magnetic field with me just being an individual linear independent system looking for some sort of dynamic in our charge-like distribution to detect some sort of like alignment, see if we can produce some sort of alignment for um, for matter phases to take place, right? Okay, so this is where I'm gonna start, I guess. So over the past few years, obviously I haven't really known anybody for nuclear distance, so I haven't really had anybody in my life. It's been a little distortive, I guess, because it's really simple for other people to meet people on the ground, right? And like, people are like, they go places and they do things and they interact. Sometimes they might have friends, and their friends can make it like really simple just to interact and or meet other people. Their friends might have friends and et cetera, et cetera. Well, I moved around the country a lot, and I've been to a lot of like, you know, different states. I've been in and out, like, especially the state that I'm living in right now. And I know absolutely no one on the ground. Like, literally, again, I haven't known anybody for nuclear distance, so, like, I just over the past few years, just been work and or like research and content coverage. I've been pretty busy. Um, I mean, I might, I have to do some other things. I'm still trying to start my own company, and I wouldn't really mind even just taking online classes or going back to school even while I have my company because you still get degrees. I'm not gonna have like just having my company not slow me down, because like if I'm making money, producing these different things, like these different products, like to help civilization, it would benefit not only me, myself, and my relationship, and how I can carry and sustain my relationship for us to explore more and find out more about ourselves in ways that we never imagined. But um, also sustain my life and to help the planet. Now, I have to go through the nuclear phases really quick because and some people were saying like they were too ordered out for some force seeker. People just talk out and say random things, I guess, for seeing me online. And I just want to clarify, like, I'm not a force seeker. I'm just some guy, individual guy that's living my own life, and I'm just trying to, go through the nuclear phases to actually like, make some sort of gravitational contact. Like, it's some sort of paradox. Like, whenever you're trying to do things or live life and trying to like make some sort of gravitational strength with somebody or accumulate some sort of degree of a magnetic field for constant curvature effects or orbital effects that can take place to sustain the magnetic field that you have with this person through electrostatic, because electrostatic is a physical constant and it's always going to be accelerated and or non-accelerated due to the solar storms or the solar winds, because solar winds also affects the electrostatic and the core also affects the electrostatic. So it's like these two different things. So since I haven't really known anybody, like, I go places, I try to talk to people. It's been a complexity for me to like date again, do things. So I've only been in relationships, right? So I went through the, making the magnetic field and like the dynamics of the magnetic field. Like, for example, I can use this as an example. Like, for example, you know, sexual encounters. I guess I can talk about sexual encounters as an example, and I would give off examples of nuclear phases to express why I'm online and not knowing anybody on the ground. It's like the complete complexity of trying to live a life and trying to start things in your life and try to, find pathways in your life that can like, demolish other pathways and recreate other pathways or whole new pathways or just a spatial pathways. Like, it can all just happen just from interacting, touching each other physically, shaking hands, making this gravitational, um, what is it called? This gravitational ignition and or this gravitational like acknowledgement of of um, of a charge carrying system in that physical day touching another charge and the reaction of just the energy just physically touching, right? It would just be how a gravitational contact would react, right, to energy, since it's an energy dynamic, and it would ignition some sort of magnetic field forming or a degree of a magnetic field for interactive cases, right? Okay, back to the nuclear phases. So I'm trying to go quick. I don't want to take up your time. Okay. Let's see what kind of examples. And is there any relationship or okay? So I just use other people. I won't say anything. Because my relationships were just friend relationships. But there was a stand. I didn't really like. I'm not like out or anything. I'm just an open guy. I'm looking for some sort of degree of contact. And I guess I kind of have to express myself because a lot of other people, they get things in their life. And, anyways, back to nuclear. I'm just talking too much, so many different things to talk about, right? Okay, so, um, how do so, we're always looking for something, obviously sometimes we're just horny. We're just naturally horny because of the magnetic field, right? And, the magnetic field always goes through nuclear phases, and electrostatic is constant, so dark matter always want to break through the magnetic field, right? And like it only go through like magnetic fields, and we can just create magnetic fields just from gravitationally being around each other. So every day, let's say for example, your charge, this day, um, the charges effects of the day would be, you know, everything throughout the day, like if you had enough sleep, your mood, like you know your your temperature and like all of the physical phases and that carries and sustains a charge and then let's say there's this other person there, there's charge, right? So you're interacting and you're forming some sort of degree of a magnetic field and it's forming, let's say you try to make some sort of sexual encounter, right? So like say so like you're trying to form some sort of alignment through this encounter and a degree of the magnetic field is forming to as you're detecting each other through these detective methods to find some sort of like alignment with each other for like matter to take place in the form in order to strengthen the magnetic field, right? So you let's say you align you both, let's say a different degree of alignment would be like your heart rate, so this is like more closer to the nucleus and like so you have like you're in a different sector of the penetrating and shielding of the nucleus from getting closer and or like bonding and the bonds that trap the matter inside of this magnetic field in between the 2 points, and there's the two charges or it sustains like this flux, and so let's say your heart rate goes in duality, and like it can be in many different degrees, many different charge like interactions to make a nuclear reaction, right? Because there's different charges every day. So like say you're in some sort of form of alignment, right? And like um, the alignment traps matter or the formation of matter inside the magnetic field in between the two charges, right? And like it's like either some sort of entanglement or alignment that or a bond that traps the matter inside. And let's say, for example, as a sexual interaction going, it's a really successful interaction. It's more closer to the nucleus or some sort of center, and like the trap of matter and its nuclear phases from the charge-like interactions you know, um, could last for like hours, weeks, or days, because the detection method, it was found, there are many different types of detection methods. Like, let's say someone too outside, the magnetic field didn't really get inside to enclose the matter inside. It was just outside, but it was still hot, It wasn't close to the nucleus, it was just too outside. So it was more like an orbiting field of like orbiting around radiative interest, So, so it wasn't like, a complete fusion of like heart rates aligning and all the other alignments that take place through entropy and the time that it takes for matter to like form these different like formations to trap like matter in between the magnetic field and between the two charges, right? So the strength of the magnetic field will have to go through various nuclear chain reactions to sustain its strength. Magnetic moments can endure the strength of the magnetic field. So, the reason why I was talking about is, well, let's say another example. For example, well, first, all of these phases can only happen through excitation energy, right? You have to be excited just for any of these phases to be sensitive through the detective method. If you're not really excited, you're not hard, then a lot of degrees for the formations of the magnetic field would just not be there, right? It would just be like sectors of a sphere. Um, so, I mean, obviously, if you're going through these excitation phases, let's see, an unsuccessful phase would be like you're hard and you're inside of this person, and like, um, let's say, you're not really feeling anything. There's no surges of photoelectric effects, so it's not making any electronic spins, right? And the microgravity isn't forming. But you're thrusting in them, you're propagating, you're still hard, you were horny before you got inside of them, and like the thrusting case would just be like, the charge distribution of the day, and it was more like a weak charge, so it wasn't really any formations to take place, and it was more like just playing because of excitation energy is there, and the nuclear process is there, although the detection method didn't really make any fusion effects, and it was just outside the magnetic field, because it was a detection to see if something would form through the method of spiraling effects of orbital bodies. Now, a lot of formations take place. That was an unsuccessful example. I mean, I could explain it better, but again, I had to record this video like 3 and 5 times, talking for over 20 minutes. Like another example, I guess, like obviously the formations only take place, or the detections can only take place if you're inside of the system. The charge distributions would either be like degrees of the brain and degrees of the heart, and if they go to some sort of frequency in between the sexual interaction, or if they go into the same frequency of alignment. These are all different nuclear phases. Like, so the alignments could take place, and you're synchronized, and like all the motion seems to just be seamlessly a dynamic on its own. You're moving into these positions and transitioning, and every time just fire, right? You know, so we all like to detect. Obviously, the nuclear phases will always be there, and it's like we're in this we're in the presence of this magnetic field. So the nuclear phases will be constant, a gravitational constant, because dark matter needs some sort of magnetic field to be sustained inside. So the nuclear stability will be the strength of these magnetic fields and how long these radiative half-life, the strength can be sustained through electrostatic. Um, it's like a vector quantity and a coordinating vector of constant curvature, where the coordination and or constant the coupling constant is like a gravitational thing for nuclear energy, and then the dynamics of energy. Most of the dark matter methods would be everything that's like inside with the inverse. You need various equations to survive. Some start a family, some have larger families, and these different like pathways and things would from the the bonds would just be the detections of energy and how the dynamics of energy can sustain some sort of some sort of like dynamics for the energy of the field to take place with different patterns and or nuclear phases of harmonic energy, just going in motion, because like motion never stops if the planet never stops spinning, right? So the dynamics of the motion can evolve into many different ways because of the strength of the magnetic field whenever dark matter is sustained. Um, Methods of trying to find these things would be the propagation, and their different methods of moving in and out of the system via, constant photoelectric effects. The nuclear method, the nuclear um, effects of propagating can do a lot of things along with other motion. And the melting phases, so it makes these other forming of like ion-like channels, which are frequencies that we kind of feel and we receive through the sexual encounter, through the different phases of melting, since it's a melting phase through excitation. It's either getting closer to the nucleus to make some sort of center, or outside to the nucleus, which would be the different shields of getting close and just being outside. But getting, just like not really knowing the person, never really being inside of the person, you would never really be inside of this magnetic field, and detecting the magnetic field to see if some dynamics will become out of it is like is the whole encountering, process. And whenever it's spherical and there's a sphere inside, like an internal sphere with with a shield, which is the outer sphere, you successfully, sustained, you know, some sort of matter interaction, or some sort of spherical contact, where the magnetic fields are, not only synchronized and through harmony, but can go through many phases of electrostatic through constant curvature. Now, with me trying to talk about, well, first I was diffracting, constantly looking for some sort of gravitational interaction, never known anybody for like the past 5 years, with me constantly trying to find somebody in some sort of way, like, and constantly moving, I have access to technology because, like, you go places and people are like, you can't really talk to people, it's real complex, and nobody talks to you, you don't really have anybody, you can't really go, you know, try to talk in some sort of like interactive way to for any of these other nuclear phases to take place. That like I tried to use technology, and everything's distorted about technology because a lot of people like they either like party out or they and like all these other things because every day is a new day, and obviously a lot of people get a lot of attention sometimes, and some people don't. Like for example, I really don't get that much attention. You get a few waves here and there, but so but the distortion of everybody in the field getting a lot of attention, and people always distorting the field with like things. It's like I'm completely like don't know anyone, and so I have no gravitational strength to the ground. So I needed some sort of gravitational strength. So I used technology and like websites and applications for some sort of degree to get to somebody on the ground for formations of nuclear energy to take place between the charge distributions, because the charges would be different every day, and the detection method would obviously be different every time that there's an excitation, polarization. I mean, you can have sex with somebody, and every time you wake up, it'd be a different charge, when you wake up, So we get the nuclear phases, right? So again, I was trying to escape from everyone that was distortive and controlling, to be free, this free linear independent system, to to um to explore gravity and the dynamic fields that can become. Now, there are people all over the planet. Some people don't really use these things, and some people do. Like, I don't get any type of interaction, and it's another paradox from like being online like throughout the years, and it would say like how long you've been online, and you like get absolutely no interaction at all, and you just get like people all over the planet like just looking at these videos and stuff, or these applications, and it's like it's really distortive, and people talk to you and they think that like you've been partying and like doing things your whole life, and you actually haven't. You've just been busy and are doing things and like trying to survive because you have to like make money, you have to eat, you have to find shelter, you have to like freaking get clothes, you have to have a car, you have to do all these things in your life. That's like it's really complex, especially when you don't know anyone. Like and like the gravitational constant of like the coupling constants is all about the dynamics of these magnetic fields to survive. Like you have to find some sort of way to to form some sort of magnetic field to get through electrostatic, because electrostatic is extremely complex, and like it's impossible to get anywhere with some sort of dynamic pathway just alone. Like you need somebody for a lot of nuclear phases to take place. So that's why it's gravitational constant field. That's why we constantly have storms. That's why we constantly get gravitational attractions from different sectors of space. So if we don't since there's constant charge like interactions or constant entering the magnetic field, if we don't encounter some sort of charge like interactions through these different phases of electrostatic, we would never get the dynamic reactions that would sustain either you know nuclear like different types of nuclear phases that will just react nuclearly and dynamically inside these magnetic contacts, these magnetic field contacts, and charge us, um, just to, you know, explosion, like the Big Bang, freaking solar system start. These are all things of gravity, the gravitational strength, like the electromagnetic force. These are four fundamental phases. The electromagnetic force, gravity, nuclear strong and nuclear weak. Now, we see these since this is a fundamental force, a sexual interaction, you see these fundamental forces, the microgravity that comes from the orbiting bodies in order the detection method, and the electromagnetic force of the brain and heart rate. It's you know everything that needs for matter to be sustained in these magnetic fields, and the dynamics of these fundamental forces is just reacting with substance. No, I don't want people there's things about attraction and magnets for things to work. There are different attractions that. There are prime attractors where it's you're more centered maybe on many things about prime energy and the fields that they give off, and they could be stunning and stuff like that, or it could be face centered, or it could be really smart, or it could be face centered where it's you're centered on the center of the square, which is the face, or the body centered, where it's their body. There's many different attraction phases on its own, or you could be hexagonal centered, or the centers. There are more centers, many different centers of attractions to form just for the detection phases to take place. Um, since or coordinations to take place just for some sort of dynamic reaction to take place, right? I mean, once the energy is trapped inside these magnetic fields, the energy comes out, right? It comes out, like you know, I mean, it's sustained. The nuclear strength is sustained. It's a degree of the contact. It could be a spherical contact. It could be a sector of a sphere contact. There's many different types of nuclear degrees of getting to this entropy point in our melting phases, where the energy, the charges, they make nuclear phases. You only experience these nuclear phases through the energy release as you're inside of one another, and it's the only thing that's inside the left and right side of your brain that can reach the center of your brain, because it's the only thing that's penetrating you, you know. And so it's the most deepest things inside where energy is taking place, where formations of charges distribute nuclear energy. And I mean, we all go through the nuclear fission because we feel the charge or the electronic spin interactions of the magnetic pull that it would have whenever you're releasing energy together in a duality. These different nuclear phases of climaxing together in these different nuclear ranges, so either at the same atomic time, multiple times in the same atomic time, or different gaps in between the emissions of atomic time. It's nuclear phases throughout the whole distribution of the microenvironments. As microgravity is sustained inside this magnetic field of the two charges, the distributions of how you sustained dark matter inside these charges be the distribution and or the degree of the magnetic field. It's a nuclear strength to get through electrostatic. Now, a lot of nuclear things happen. I mean, I could talk about a lot of different things, but again, I've been talking too long. It's already 25 minutes, and I'm trying to cut short. If you actually really want to talk to me, you know that I'm just deep inside, and like I don't really know anyone, and everything about like having these accounts online or on, you know, on these applications are really disturbed because a lot of people get sex easily, you know. Again, if I knew people on the ground, I could have went places to meet people. You know, I would have had some degree of a life. I would have had, you know, a lot of things sustained in my life. I would have had a life, but I don't, and I have to start a life, and I have to find people just for this process to take place for everything around nuclear energy and coordination. Um, just for the field to take place. Now everything that's too outside would just be outside, and it's not really inside to the magnetic fields that can take place and the bonds to take place. So I mean, even if you're like saying, well, I'm not that deep in, or you know, such and such, I mean, you really don't know how charge distributions, you know, would take place, and like, you know, it's like oh, fuck, it's 26 minutes in. But, you know, I gotta go. Everyone else has to go. I'm not really trying to talk too much, I guess. I mean, we understand nuclear energy. Obviously, we're deep into nuclear energy because it's what sustains a microenvironment. So, there's microenvironments all over. It's how we live our lives. It's how we go through constant curvature. Um, so, you know, obviously, I'm, you know, getting older, I guess. I'm not like fat or anything. Like I'm like I mean I was really muscular, but like my face got a little puffy, I guess, from like being like around 210 pounds. Like I'm usually around 170, 190 in between. I'm really ripped, but you know I had to work and stuff like that, and like other effects of age, like you know are noticeable when you get older. And, you know, it's like I haven't been married. I haven't really been in any relationship in like years. I haven't been able to do anything. I haven't known anyone, and it's just like it's tiring. You know, like I didn't mind like you know deleting anything if I found somebody, but I was like I haven't found anybody, so it's like I had to keep going. You know, like what do you do whenever you're really attracted to like you know when you're really attracted to like you know well. I was really attracted to what was attracted to me. Like everything that came to me was what broke through to me, and like I how I started my relationships because they made the first moves, they did everything, you know. So how do you get, you know, you know, and I still try to talk to people. I try to you know do things, but it's like I haven't like well, all of my relationships only started was like they indicated that they were into me and they started everything and they made everything work. You know what I mean? And it's like I try to do things now. I try to talk to people, but nobody talks to me, and I just don't know why. You know, like these people just control things around me, and it's like I have to escape. You know, people doing things just like behind technology while I'm just trying to make some sort of degree of a contact so I can get on with my life. You know, get on with my life, start things in my life. You know, I mean, I could start things alone, start my business, but you know, do all these things alone ends up being more complex, especially whenever you don't know, have anybody in your life, you don't know anyone, you know. There's a lot of complexities with, you know, with a lot of things. Whenever you have to, you know, you have to deal with a lot of things in the business. You have to deal. I mean, I'm not really trying to talk about that. That's not. Like, I'm trying to be open to to um, discovering what we could, the potential energy inside that we could find, the connection of our magnetic field if we collide and ends up becoming successful, ends up becoming everything that we've ever wanted. We melt in the most deepest, most admiring, most intoxicating, most you know intensive, you know, sacred way where we can make these spherical bonds of finding each other spherically, centering different aspects of nuclear chemistry will be fixed and discovering why we are orbiting in order to create a coordination. I mean, you know, the strength could last again weeks, months, hours, days, years. You know, it could be in and out of it, or it could be into it forever. But it's something that we won't know unless we made to discover ourselves. So going through the encounter would just be like, you know, uh, physical phase. You know, every day is a new charge distribution. You never know how energy can react. Although since, I went through a lot of depression and everything for being alone for so long, I kind of have to, like, get, you find somebody that's, like, that can break through to me. Because, like, after going through, like, random hookups and, like, people that, like, I've been, like, I guess drained and, like, I like to be happy, I like to be energetic, but, like, a lot of things are deceiving and are, like, you know, didn't really work out for me. I just, over the years, I've just been, like, a little depressed, but I can get out of it. Like, obviously, if I have somebody that's, like, really into me and, like, can break through, then it's great. So, I mean, obviously, another degree is, like, I was, really attracted to this point-like particle, like, refraction of what broke through to me through constant curvature ever since I was born. It broke through. 5 years old, broke through, like, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. It's like this charge distribution and or what I was attracted to is the whole reason why I had to make these accounts, because like every breakthrough was like some sort of intergalactic field that just took place, and it made me, it formed me, and that's why I try to stay open so I can make some sort of contact through constant curvature but everything that distorts everything around us. It's like I'm open, I'm open because I'm deep inside with the nuclear charge that's inside of me for what I'm attracted to. And like the only thing that can find me inside is whatever comes inside of me, you know? However we create the energy together or whatever I'm inside of. And the only thing you can do is you have to get past those electronic shields. Once you're inside the electronic shields, nuclear energy can only take place. You can either detect it or you can't. Photoelectric effects. This vector quantity and the real numbers, along with the magic numbers. It's a nuclear experience that we all love about microgravity. And it's what turns us on, you know? So if I'm always here just for you, you know that I'm alive for you, you know that I'm ignited for you, and I'm turned on by you in every way. I'm deep inside for you. And the energy will always be there throughout the galaxy. And only you can ignite it. Only you can turn me on in these ways where I would just be at the most peak of my prime, reacting in ways that I've never imagined, because I can't make these reactions alone. Even if I jack off, I can't even get to see any of these nuclear phases. These are only things that you can do with other people, you know? These are the only benefit, the only diffraction of energy would be through the plasma state, because that's the only way medium waves can transfer through. In every alignment, where the conductance of an electron current, it goes through every propagation. And it can sustain so many different things. Just know that I'm always here for you. I always be alive with the fire inside.